From the newsroom of the Bryant College Station Eagle, this is the Brazos Sports Prepscast. And now, the Eagle High School sports team, Alex Miller and Jake Weiss.
What's up, y'all? You're listening to another episode of the Brazos Sports Prepscast, the Eagles High School football podcast. I'm Alex Miller, joined always, that's Jake Weiss. I'm like picking his nose. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your buddy's nose, apparently. That's what my mom told me when I was a kid. And Andrew Tenio. What's up, Andrew?
Hello. Excited to be back.
Jake, I didn't get to give you a chance to say what's up. How's it going today, man?
Doing good, man. I gotta say though, if you keep putting your finger up there, I'm gonna turn the camera off. So,
fair enough. Well, hey, it's hard to believe, but we're already past the halfway point of at least the regular season, and I guess the full season is what, like 17 weeks? You got 16 games plus a bye, so we're at week 7. So we're 7 down, 10 to go. Things are really starting to take shape as we get into the thick of district play. For some teams, they're past the halfway point of their season. For others, this is about it. And so, let's do a little bit of a rewind and give out some mid-season superlatives. Of course, in high school, you get the yearbook and they give out the senior superlatives, right?
Little signatures.
Did you get one?
Oh, no, I didn't get one.
Jake, did you get one of those?
I probably did, but man, I don't remember what it was.
Probably best smile.
I'd agree.
That's very nice of you. I don't think it was that though.
All right.
Either way, we're gonna hand out some, best player, best game, surprise team, and then we're gonna talk about 3 local games this week to wrap it up. Jake, let's start with best player. And hey, as a disclaimer, we're gonna give our pal Andrew a little bit of a pass, given he's only been here for 2 weeks now.
Right. Yeah, this will be my 3rd week of high school football.
So actually, Andrew, can you kind of lead our discussion a little bit as me and Jake kind of look back on the first half of the season?
All right, yeah. So go ahead, Jake. Talk to me about your favorite player or your best player up to this point. Who you think is maybe it's a surprise player or someone that you expected in the year. Who do you think's been the best so far?
All right, I hate to break the rules on the very first one because I know it's supposed to be best player, but I'll go best players, plural, because I've got to go with the A&M consolidated defense. I think we knew they were going to be good coming in, but man, I mean, I've watched them a couple of games now, and man, they're legit. Defense is keeping them in the game at times. I know they're still figuring out some things on offense, but you can trust that defense. I think the most points they've given up have been 16 points. I need to go back and double check that, but they've been keeping it on lock. Now that I think about it, 16 might be the most. No, excuse me, 24. Yeah. Gave up 24 to Lufkin. But point is, they've been keeping teams in check.
And to be fair, Lufkin, that running back committed to Notre Dame, he had a big fourth quarter. But up until that point, I mean, Consol had really shut him down. And, you take away that long run, he barely gets over the century mark. And, I think that's a good pick, Jake, with the Consol defense. They've played pretty strong so far this season.
I'll be having a feature story on an individual on that team later this week, and I think it's 14.6 points per game they've given up. So a very impressive mark. It's the best in district by a healthy margin. So it's a good pick. What do you got, Alex?
Yeah, I'm gonna go across town. I'm gonna go with College Station quarterback Arrington Maiden. He's really turned a corner this season, and I think that's why the Cougars are still a legit contender. The touch on his passes has improved immensely, and he's really figured out how to know when to tuck it and run. He's had some really good runs that have extended drives, made some plays. Last week against Georgetown Eastview, really had his way, 12 of 14 passing, 226 yards and a couple touchdowns. He's got a really good receiving core and an offensive line that's really come into its own well here over the last month. Big question mark for College Station going into the season. But when you have a guy like that under center that can just make those kind of plays and has kind of the talent level that he does, you're going to win a lot of football games, and that's why College Station's 4-1, and that offense is humming as well as it is.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to go and head on to more superlatives of a surprise team, or do you want to head to what's coming next?
Yeah, let's go best game real quick. Jake,
Ooh. Man, I have to go first. I was hoping I could cheat.
I can
off
go.
you.
I can go
Here,
first this time.
Yeah.
I can go
Let's
first
have you
this
go
time.
first this time.
Okay. So, in all fairness, none of the games that I've really covered this year have been super duper close, barn burners, unlike last year where it seemed like every week I was covering some kind of like instant classic if they were playing, NCAA football. But I've got to say, the Navasota-Madisonville game was a really good one. Madisonville was able to pull out a 26-16 win, but it felt a lot closer than that for most of the game. And honestly, it felt like Navasota controlled the game for most of the night. Two Brazos Valley teams, the Rattlers had their chances, but the Mustangs made the plays that they needed to come away with the win. And kind of just looking at where those two teams have gone since then, Madisonville shot up into the rankings after that. And, they're coming off a tough loss to Columbus. Ty Williams had 3 interceptions, but, they still did some good things. There's no time to sulk with district play on the horizon. They've got Robinson up next, and the Rockets are a team on the rise. Madisonville's got a bye week this week, and probably coming at a good time. Really rode the wave of momentum, and now maybe you get a chance to kind of step back, reevaluate yourself, and maybe avoid a potential letdown loss the week after. And then, Navasota, they had a big win over Bay City last week. Yep. They were underdogs in that one. And now they got to face 6-0 Needville. And in Needville, so they are a team on the rise. I think they went 4-6 last year. Now they're 6-0. So, Coach Dacus' team kind of turning a corner. Javen Jesse, he's had a pretty solid start to his season. And so, kind of looking at where those two teams have gone from that early season matchup has been a little bit interesting. They're at that 4A level.
Fresh off of the Player of the Week, if I'm correct, in Javen J.C. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, exactly. He the Rattler Nation showed up in a big way. It's funny. I checked the poll throughout the day, and at one point I was like, "Oh, they need like 100 votes." I don't know. And then the next thing I do, I check it out at 4:00 when we turn it off. I was like, "Holy cow! How they do that?"
It's this thing called Facebook and the share button.
Yeah, that must be what it is.
I think every mom in Navasota shared that. I was looking back at our Facebook post. Jake was like, Jake reminded me yesterday. He goes, "Hey, did you share the Player of the Week poll on Facebook yesterday morning?" I was like, "Oh no, I didn't." And then I did, and then I checked back, and it had like all kinds of shares. The link did. And it looked like it was a bunch of Navasota people. So I wasn't too surprised when Javen Jesse won the poll, but hey, well deserved. He had a great week last week against Bay City for sure.
And that was a win they needed because now they're 1-1. They got 4 games left. I know they're trying to get back into the playoffs because it's been a while since they've been there. But it's a good start. But tough challenge, like you mentioned, Alex. Tough one this week.
Gonna kick it back to you here, Jake. Your best game so far.
All right, so this might be a little recency bias, and I kind of hate to, my best player and my kind of same answer here, but I got to go A&M Consolidated, Cedar Park from last week on the road. Real good game, 24-16. Can't ask for much better or a closer game than that one. I've covered a lot of close games. It's funny, Alex was saying, like, he hasn't covered a lot of close games, and I was kind of doing the math in my head just now. I was like, well, that was close, that one was close, that one was close, like, a lot of close games for me. A lot of times, you have to – the backspace button has been my best friend, I think. Have to delete some things and move things around when you're writing.
Yeah.
But no, man, just a game. I mean, we talked about it a little bit. I think I talked to you guys just in the office about that game. I mean, you're kind of thinking, okay, Consol gets a 4th down stop with like a minute 30-ish to go. You're thinking, okay, heck, I took the elevator down to the field level. And, all of a sudden I get down there and Cedar Park's got the ball back and they're just driving. They had like a 33-yard pass, then a 36-yard pass. And, with 5 seconds left, they're on the 10-yard line. Kind of, Alex, you might disagree a little bit with this, but it kind of gave me shades of that College Station Smithson Valley playoff game. Just a little bit, just because, they're right there with just seconds to go. You're like, oh, okay, what's about to happen here?
It's going down to the last play. I mean, that's exactly how that game was last year. And, yeah, I mean, very, very similar shades.
But yeah, I mean, and like I said, pass hits the ground. Consol walks away at the win. They're 1-1 in district now. Kind of, I don't want to say they're in the driver's seat, but they're still in control of their own destiny here. I mean, with a lot of district to go, kind of can see where they go from here. Because I mean, that Georgetown game 2 weeks ago, not like that game was a blowout or anything. They lost 14-10. So I don't know. We'll kind of see. Alex, you were talking about kind of where the teams are now. Like, I'm kind of curious. Even though this was just a week ago, I'm a little curious. Like, hey, where do both of these teams go? Where does Cedar Park go from here, and where does Consol go? Because I believe Cedar Park was the fourth. They had the fourth playoff spot in this district. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, they've got College Station at home this week, which I think we'll talk about that a little later. But interested to see where they both kind of go from here, where their paths take them.
Andrew, we're gonna let you participate in this one because
Thank
I think you saw a pretty good game last Friday night at Merrill Green Stadium.
I think it's fresh on my mind to an extent. Yeah, Friday night, Bryant, Coppers Cove. There's just so many elements of this game that I could be here for 20 minutes just unpacking this massive onion worth of a game, because you've got these offenses that won't stop scoring, and then you've got these playmakers that come out of nowhere. Tyson Turner gets hurt after a while. Enter in Derek Ramsey, who had 4 catches all year to that point, puts up 115 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 beautiful slant routes from him to score. It just felt like such a full effort. And although the score, there was points where I think there was one point where there were 5 consecutive plays that were touchdowns. It just felt like neither team could do anything right. But the 2 plays that meant the biggest to me in the end was the beginning of overtime, where Brian gets the stop and they start with the ball, a 5-yard carry, then 20 yards carry for Isaiah Noodle. And he started after like a 3 or 4 yard rush, and the offensive line just kept pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. It being a 20-yard gain after like getting first contact after 4 yards. And that really showed the impressiveness of the grit of the team. This is a shootout right now, but it was clear who wanted to finish that game, and it was Brian, especially on top of the emotional win the week before against Temple. To have this one as well, I think they're probably deserving of a bye week after the last couple weeks that they've had. But yeah, no doubt, 49-46, so much offense. So.
Yeah, I was checking your score updates, and I saw that Cove was up like 29-22, and I was like, oh man, Brian, like, gonna possibly have a letdown loss after that big win over Temple. But hey, shout out to Coach Tullis' team. I mean, found a way to win. The Vikings are 2-0 in district. You mentioned they get the bye week. We talked last week. They've got Pflugerville Weiss after this open date, and Vikings are in a good spot right now. They're definitely going to be the underdogs going into that game against Weiss, but hey, I think 12-6A is wide open and for the taking, kind of like the SEC West.
Yeah, the playmakers, the offensive playmakers probably stood out to me the most in the depth, too, especially at receiver, having 3 guys like Lewis and Turner and now Ramsey, who are capable of having big plays when they need to. So,
well, Jake, we'll close out this segment of superlatives with some surprise teams, because I think over on the east side of the Brazos Valley, we've had a couple of surprises early on this season.
Yeah, I'll lead it off here. Since you went first last time, give me the Fighting Owls, baby. Anderson Shiro. I know it was a tough one last week against Newton, but hey, that's a team that went undefeated a year ago in this district. I think they beat Anderson Shiro 69-0. Like I talked about last week on the pod, I think if the Owls just came away with some positive momentum, played them a little closer, which they did. But, man, that's another team that you can talk about their defense. 3 shutouts in non-district. I believe 3 in a row, too. I think coming out of non-district, too, they'd only given up – or, excuse me, the first 4 games of the season, maybe even 5. They'd only given up, like, 20 points.
Yeah, it was not a lot.
Yeah, it was not a lot. It was like they gave up, like, 6 in their opener, then 3 shutouts. Then I think in the first district game they gave up 14 or something like that. But anyway – man, the Owls have looked real good here at the beginning. It's kind of crazy, too, because, this isn't really a team that's super senior heavy. These are a lot of guys that were sophomores kind of last year. They had you look at Connor Daly, quarterback. he's just a junior this year. I mean, he's going to be back again next year. Going to have a lot of guys with him too. So, I mean, obviously we still have a whole season to go, and I know the Owls really want that first playoff win. They've been a couple of times, but now you're just kind of sitting back and thinking, man, they're this good as juniors. What are they going to look like next year? At least that's what I'm thinking.
You know, the team that's kind of stuck out to me is Iola. Okay, the Bulldogs, they're 4-1 after district play. They've got kind of you talk about young guys. They've got a budding star at running back in Adrian Garrett. I mean, he's up there in the statistical rankings. And now comes the hard part: is winning some district games. You know, Iola's probably got to find a way to win 2 district games to make the playoffs for the first time since 2020. I think Bartlett is like 1-4 or 0-5. They're having kind of a tough year, so I think I believe that Iola would win that one. But you know, Iola, they were picked to finish 5th in the district before the season, so I mean, Rex Sharp's kind of got it going on over there with his crew, and you know, if they can find a way to the postseason, I mean, I think that would be a huge success for Iola. Kind of with a little bit of a younger team, you know, a coaching staff in its first year, start building some momentum over there.
And, you know, it's funny. I talked to Coach Sharp a couple of weeks ago, right after they finished up non-district before their bye last week. And, you know, he was saying the seniors kind of came to him and said, you know, hey, winning's fun. You know, we haven't done this before. You know, we've only won 4 games, I think, combined last couple of seasons. I know the last 2 seasons for sure was only 4 games. So, yeah, I mean, they've already tied that number. They've got a whole district ahead of them. It's not going to be easy, of course. You know, Coach Sharp said, you know, he really wants to get these seniors some playoff experience because they don't have that. Kind of help set that foundation. You got Bremont, you got Chilton, Milano, a lot of really good teams in that district. But, I mean, man, they've already had a good start, Alex, like you mentioned. So kind of curious to see where they can go from here.
Well, hey, we got some games that are of note here in Bryan College Station this week. Although everybody's on the road, we're gonna be traveling this week, which I'm not too upset about. I love me a good road game. Jake, let's start with A&M Consolidated. They're taking on Pflugerville Hendrickson over on the east side of Austin.
Yeah, like I said a little earlier, you know, this is a win Consol kind of really needed. I hate to say that because it's only 2 games into district, but you feel a whole lot better at 1-1 than 0-2.
Yeah.
Especially having to go back on the road. You know, it's kind of interesting. Consol still kind of trying to figure out the offense, but that defense has been rock solid. Will Hargett started the game last week. Tyler Poling came in, finished the whole game. Consol kind of had a little bit of a spark, though, there. You got Keyshawn Thomas involved at slot receiver. We kind of finally saw him kind of have, you know, that kind of breakout we've been expecting at his new position. It really feels like – I feel like if they can really turn a corner on the offense, then they'll be in good shape. I think this is another week, though, where you kind of want to just go, is this the week they turn the corner? You know, they had some positive momentum against Cedar Park a week ago, but can they keep it up? What's the quarterback looking like? All those kind of questions are still kind of up in the air, I feel like.
I think this is really where Consol can make a run these next 3 weeks. I mean, they've got Hendrickson, they've got is it Leander Glenn, and then they have Eastview, right? And so, you know, those are 3 games that I think Consol should win. And man, if they can get this offense going and the defense can play at the clip that they have been, get some momentum, you know, they'll be going into that College Station game feeling pretty good about where they're at. And you know, that'll be, I mean, that's a game that, you know, we've got circled down the road as a pretty impactful game here locally and just for that district race. And so definitely curious to see if the Tigers can really get things going on offense and kind of figure it out, because they're right there. I think they're right there. I listened to the second half of that game, Jake, and you know, they were doing some good things, and just need to get some of that consistency, it sounds like.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, College Station, they are going on the road to face Cedar Park. You know, the Cougars, kind of been on a warpath lately. Nobody's really been able to slow them down on offense. They've put together 4 straight wins. None of them really been close. But I think Cedar Park's probably the best team that they're going to have faced since they lost to Lovejoy in the season opener. I think the more we've learned about Temple, the more we see this is not a typical Temple team. Not to take away from College Station's win on the road, that was certainly impressive. But man, Jake, Cedar Park's they've got a pretty salty defense. It seems like they just can't really get things going too much on offense in some of these higher stakes games.
Yeah, no, they were, kind of watching their offense. It was pretty, just, hey, we're going to just kind of run it up the gut, get a couple yards, first and second down, third down, we're going to try and pass. I think they had like 6 punts against Consol. I really was not too, I hate to use the word impressed, but their offense really wasn't anything super special. I mean, granted, they picked up most of their yards, I felt like, through the air in that those last 2 plays I was talking about where they had the 33-yarder and the 36-yarder. And what's funny is on one of those passes, Alex, I'm sure you heard this on the radio, but quarterback dropped the ball, had to pick it up, and then, just launch it kind of downfield. And they picked up like 36 yards. I think that was a 36-yarder. So, yeah, we'll see what they can do. It'll be interesting. Quick note, Cedar Park's quarterback, I'm sure he's been told this all his life, but he does not take sacks. He's thrown stuff against Consol. There was a couple times where he tried to do a Patrick Mahomes, kind of throw it over his shoulder, just kind of launch into the stands or launch into the sideline. So it'll be interesting to see if he took an intentional grounding at one point in the red zone on another play. So it'll be interesting to see what College Station's defense kind of throws at them.
Timberwolves really need this win to stay in, contention for a good playoff seeding. I think they were a team that most people picked would finish in the top 4 of that district. And, College Station, they floundered a little bit in that last road game against Leander in the first quarter. So I'm sure Coach Pryor is going to be emphasizing a strong start for this Friday, not letting their opponent stay in it too long if the Cougars can continue to play like they have. So, well, Andrew, you're going to be heading over to Huntsville this Friday, checking out Rudder against the Hornets, and gonna be a big game for a multitude of reasons.
Oh yeah, obviously it's a big district game for both teams, obviously, but also the opening of the brand new Huntsville ISD Stadium, which it's beautiful. You seen photos?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We've all seen photos. It's nice.
It is really nice. So I'm excited to be there personally. But it's not just that the new stadium. The Hornets are humming right now. They're doing really, really well, coming off of beating up on Montgomery 2 weeks ago and Lamar Consol last week, which Rudder also did a pretty good job against Consol, but 67-0 compared to 40-13. There's a little bit of a difference there. I'm curious to see if Cody Billings can be healthy. Jaquise Martin, who I believe very formidable option at quarterback, but I feel like he is best when he's out in space. He's best when he's outside, and if they're able to put him outside and let him go to work, I think he could give the Hornets some problems. And just seeing Cody Billings starting and back on the field is probably just a good sign for the program as a whole. So I'm super excited for that. Huntsville's coming in at a good time, and Rudder's really going to be in for a big challenge.
Yeah, I think we've talked about how Rutter's just got to find a way to get the 3 district wins, right? Yep. That's the big 3. That's kind of the mark. And a game like this, last time Rudder went to Huntsville, they found a way to win in overtime, and that was the difference between them being in the postseason and not.
Yeah.
And so, if Rudder can go and win this game, I think Huntsville's a 20-point favorite in the Harris ratings, by the way, which I wouldn't have thought it was that much. I probably would have thought, I was not surprised that Huntsville was favored, but I don't think I would have put them as a 20-point favorite.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But yeah, I mean, if Rudder can find a way, man, that would be a huge win for the Rangers going forward. Especially, don't they play Lake Creek next week? Or no, they play Brenham and then Lake Creek.
Brenham and then Lake Creek.
Yeah, Huntsville plays Lake Creek next week. They're tied for the lead with the Lions, who I don't know if anybody's going to be able to beat them. They're really freaking
Yeah.
good.
And coach emphasized after 2 weeks ago that they had a bye this past week, and
Yeah.
obviously that could be a make or break. You could either be rested and be healthy and ready to go, or you can come out flat. And I think that's the big key for Rudder is how are they going to start? And we can tell by the first 10 minutes of how the game could potentially go just based off of if they come in iron sharp and ready to go, or if the bye week got them a little out of sorts.
Well, Jake, you got any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, should be a good week though. I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Andrew's review of a new stadium. So I might have to call you Friday night, Andrew, after the game. Like, give me the lowdown.
I'll send you. I'll FaceTime you. I'll show you around a little bit.
Oh, perfect.
Well, hey, be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage of Friday night's games and all the action leading up to another week of Texas high school football. Thanks again for tuning into this week's episode of the Brazos Sports Preps Cast. We'll see you next week.